Hard situation. I don't know what the total is right now. They owe me still about $40,000 to $50,000. I've been asked to help the city, and I'm helping the city.
But the mayor making $100,000? You making thousands of dollars? It's like you guys are looting the town.
I strongly disagree with that representation. We're not looting the town. The city has a terrible financial situation.
But the city is in a terrible situation because the politicians keep spending. Had the cuts been made years ago, the city would be able to pay its pensions today.
It was almost as if the notion and thinking was that it would fix itself, but it wasn't.
The man saw where it was going. He could have did something about it. He could have stopped it. He could have came to us and said, listen, we may have to cut your benefits a little bit, but we got to keep this thing going. He never did a thing, but just let it go.
Reminds me of these folks in Washington, who despite the warnings keep spending more than we have. But as our debt gets uglier, at some point people will stop lending to us, and then economists say,
you end up with what you had in Pritchard, Alabama. All of a sudden you say, well, sorry, we can't pay you. We actually don't have the money. We're broke.
It's why people say we should take our unsustainable federal budget and start cutting now. Otherwise, we'll be like the town of Pritchard, and we'll have to take something like this and make really drastic, horrible cuts.
think it can't happen to you?
Think again, says the wife of a retired fireman in Pritchard, Alabama.
If they will do it to us, they will do it to you.
So has that warned the government, persuaded them to stop squandering our money? No. I'll show you some of their crazier spending next. I titled the show The Money Hole because covering government, it does sometimes seem like they pour money down a big hole. Their spending makes this spoof from The Onion believable.
Is it time to close the national money hole?
That kind of talk is alarmist and irresponsible.
America needs the money hole.
Right. Driving truckloads of money out into the New Mexico desert and dumping it into a massive pit is one of America's greatest traditions.
Frankly, it's a national treasure.
Okay, I want to be clear. That was a joke. There is no actual national money hole. I don't think. But watching politicians work, there might as well be.
Pork is the word we use to describe dubious government projects that benefit some, but are paid for by all of us. It's said the phrase was coined 100 years ago by someone who said congressmen grabbing your tax money looked like hungry people grabbing pork out of a barrel. Pork today looks like this. You paid to blow up beaver dams in Mississippi and to eliminate brown tree snakes in Guam. Today, government spends your money to study the immune systems of shrimp running on treadmills. And you paid to create this robot that folds laundry.
These programs create jobs.
Senator Harry Reid wants to fund frills in his state.
A cowboy poetry festival.
A cowboy poetry festival. Some of these spending projects are so silly they sound fake. An anti-waste group sent this woman out to ask, is this government program real or fake?
$2.6 million was spent to train American prostitutes to drink responsibly.
Most people thought that was fake.
I think that's fake.
I say false.
You would say false.
The actual truth is worse.
$2.6 million was spent to train Chinese prostitutes in China to drink responsibly.
At a time of financial limits, why would the American government pay for that?
$1 million in stimulus funds to help smokers stop smoking by giving them BlackBerry smartphones.
Somehow that one is real too. BlackBerries were supposed to help smokers connect with other people trying to quit.
I used to smoke, yeah.
But then you got a BlackBerry.
But then
You got a BlackBerry.
And after they spend your money, the government charges you again for signs that brag about how they spent your money. Some dubious spending got funded through earmarks. That spending slipped through by individual members of Congress who are eager to use your money to win votes back home. President Obama signed bills that included 19,000 earmarks.
Can you hear us now?
And then the Tea Party movement happened.
They have to ban earmarks. Any Republican who does not vote to ban earmarks will have a primary challenge.
Earmarks became enough of an issue that when Republicans took back the House, they vowed not to earmark.
We're listening and serious about ending business as usual.
And then the president said this.
If a bill comes to my desk with earmarks inside, I will veto it.
And so Congress banned earmarks for 2 years. Some people we talked to outside my office like that.
Well, I'm happy about it, and I hope they never come back.
I think that's a good thing. It's good if they follow through.
But will they follow through? I doubt it.
Earmarks will come back. Congressionally directed spending will come back. John Cornyn's quoted in the paper saying they're coming back. He's head of the Republican Senatorial Campaign Committee. They're coming back.
Senator Reid wouldn't talk to us. Neither would any of these other big spenders. Maybe it now means they're embarrassed by their spending. But I doubt it, because stupid spending still happens every day. I live in one of the richest neighborhoods in the world. Sting, Jerry Seinfeld, Alex Rodriguez, Alec Baldwin, and lots of rich people live around here. The last thing we should get is free stuff from taxpayers. But look at this. A few blocks from my apartment, they're giving away bike helmets. Absolutely free.
Are you handsome or what?
Local politicians got a federal grant to help them do this.
Is this a big success?
It's a tremendous success.
Of course it's dumb to do this, especially in a rich neighborhood, but if you offer to give people free stuff, they'll take it. The line went around the block.
Can't you afford your own helmet?
You can afford your own helmet, but why not, if it's being given, why not take advantage?
Yeah, why not? If there's money flying around, I'll grab all I can. But you know, all this money has to come from somebody. It comes from the entrepreneurs who create wealth. The bike stores down the street that sell helmets, it's not very nice for them.
People can go get another helmet if they want to.
Give me a break. The bureaucrats proudly told us they'd given away 45,000 helmets.
Why is it right to take tax money to give people bike helmets?
Well, these are really not from the taxpayers' money. These are from grants, okay?
It's a federal grant. That's taxpayers.
Well, it's money that's actually saving lives.
That's possible, but with our crushing debt, government shouldn't do this. This is my city councilwoman.
What gives you politicians the right to spend public money on us rich people who live in your neighborhood?
Well, first of all,
you're just buying votes here.
No,
with public money.
I don't believe that. Let me tell you why. If you look here, there are a lot of people who don't have a lot of money.
This is the job for government?
I think it is a job for government. Days like this are important. This is not a lot of money.
Not a lot of money? Well, that's how politicians think. But fortunately, not all of them. Some good news when we come back.
Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever.
You know about the protests in Wisconsin this winter, but did you know that they continue?
They say you need no union if your collar isn't blue. Well, that is just another lie the boss is telling you.
Every day, union supporters still gather inside the Capitol and sing protest songs. This man sang about collectivism.
I thought collectivism didn't work.
The whole country functions on collectivism.
How much money does it save, Governor? Just
that particular part doesn't save any.
Okay.
And the battle for Wisconsin's also being fought in Washington.
That's right.
In the same way that
That's
if you
the point. It
read the
obviously
federal
has
budget,
no effect
I'll answer your question.
The man the congressmen and unions are mad at is Governor Scott Walker. He won the governor's race by complaining that government and unions were throwing money down a hole.
And long term, you just can't sustain that.
Walker asked them to pay a little more of their pension and health care costs, still less than private sector workers pay. But the unions said no.
Scott Walker's gotta go!
Somehow they were entitled to a fixed standard of living and a fixed compensation package.
The unions eventually said, okay, they'd pay more of their benefits, but Walker also wanted to rein in their power to get future benefits.
If you don't have a permanent change, they can come back 2 years from now with a new contract and jack up health care costs for
What
the
do you mean
taxpayers.
jack it up? You can say no.
Your hands are tied.
We want justice. How about you?
Tied, he says, by collective bargaining rules. So Walker moved to limit those.
If you're under a collective bargaining agreement, no matter what the financial situation of that local government or the state government is, the unions don't have to budge.
They don't have to budge because government has no real competition. Governments, unlike private businesses, don't go out of business when they overspend.
At the private sector, an employer can say, if we don't do this, we're going to move our operations to another location. And then people have to decide whether it's worth risking that. But the difference is in government, you got nowhere to go.
He wants to take away workers' rights to collectively bargain.
John Erpenbach is one of the 14 Democratic state senators who fled Wisconsin to try to stop the legislature from passing Governor Walker's bill. That won the union's adoration. Listen to what happens when we walk to where the protesters can see the senator.
The actual action of collective bargaining, the language of collective bargaining, doesn't save or spend money one way or the other. In the end, it's whatever governor's administration.
Wait a second. I mean, if you can collectively bargain, you can get more stuff. That's why they fight for it.
Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't.
The current system is rigged to create a vicious cycle. Money goes from taxpayers to government workers, to dues to the union, and then from the union to the politicians who promise to do more for the government workers. Round and round.
You Democrats give kickbacks to unions that elected you.
What kind of kickbacks? Like what?
Good pension, extra good pensions.
It's a good pension. There's no doubt about that. It's stuff they negotiated.
It's a kickback for electing you.
No, it's the stuff they've negotiated over the years with Democrat administrations and Republican administrations. The reason why public employees support me is, number one, I support what they're doing.
He supports union leaders like Malin Mitchell. Mitchell heads the firefighters union.
You elect your own bosses. You contribute to the Democrats, and then the Democrats pay you back with a good deal. They want to take that power away. I can kind of see why.
We're a nonpartisan union. We contribute to Republicans as well as Democrats.
But I'm looking at the list here, public sector unions, political donations. 92% to Democrats last year.
And that's because we contribute to members or people that are with our issues. And generally, the Democratic way are with our issues.
So that doesn't sound very nonpartisan.
Well, if the Republicans come back to the good side of town, then we'll start contributing more money to them.
Governor Walker isn't holding his breath.
Would America be better off without unions?
Certainly in the public sector. I mean, it's why Franklin...
What's the difference? Public-private.
President Roosevelt, who obviously is no slouch when it comes to Democrats and unions, said that public sector unions would be a problem for the United States.
Even FDR says they shouldn't have collective bargaining rights. But the public, when you do polls today, you're the evil guy who took away their rights.
The unions poured $4 or $5 million into TV ads and talked about rights.
There's a radical move underway in Madison to roll back the rights of our trusted public employees.
This is about our rights.
Collective bargaining rights. Taking away of union rights is not right.
People hear the word rights on almost anything, human rights, civil rights, union rights, collective bargaining rights. People like rights. This is really an expensive entitlement.
It's an entitlement that even stipulates inane minutia, like the size of bulletin boards.
This is what you guys got in, is the rule to put up a bulletin board. This is why governments go broke.
I can't even see what that says.
How can you run a business? How can you run anything when you got to go through rules like this to put up a bulletin board?
Can I see that? I could see where this might cripple an employer. Actually, I'm being facetious. This would not. This is a bulletin board. Let's get back to the real subject.
Like fat salary and pension deals? Does even the state senator know how fat?
Building painters in school districts get compensation of $98,000. Bus drivers make six-figure salaries.
Do they really? I think if you take a look at the overall package that public employees get, it's going to be richer than what you see in the private sector, simply because the private sector has had to cut back.
So does the public sector have to cut back? Can we afford it?
We've absolutely been cutting back.
Cutting back must mean something different for politicians. They do think they're special. Look at their surroundings. The camera is always focused on the protesters, but look up. The Wisconsin State House is insured for $200 million. The politicians who built it used 43 types of stone from 6 countries. They copied what royalty built in Europe. This is not unusual. Other state houses are grand. When you spend other people's money, you tend to spend a lot.
I mean, I look around here. This is frugal Wisconsin. This place is a palace.
That's why we don't add new things to it.
But the unions and liberals want new things like more benefits for everyone.
The question we have been asking ourselves around Wisconsin is, why do they have those health care benefits? Why do they have those retirement